Congratulations. We are rolling. Rolling and rolling and break your necks.
Okay.
Oh, shit. We got a metronome playing right with this shit right now.
Well, it's just at the top. Just click it off.
All right. No more metronome.
Fuck the metronome. We do not keep time in this household.
Grr. I only play out of time.
Off time, off beat, out of time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's insane. Hi, welcome back. Episode 26.
You're going to make it do that above us?
Yeah. Okay, so basically I decided to make a video today because we've been working on a lot of music related stuff, doing a lot of reflection, but also just trying to like make progress and find opportunity and do all the things basically. And we were just having this conversation. I just gotten off of a call with basically like a marketing company that we were looking into working with. And I feel like we were just having like a really good, genuine, productive conversation that's like helpful for us to talk about certainly, but also something that I think is valuable to talk about on the channel and is the type of conversation that I like to, or I want to have. And I'm trying to continue on the channel in terms of just like what the music process really looks like, what it really feels like to be an independent musician. And so I kind of said to Cole, pause, we need to get in front of the camera and have this conversation because it's something I definitely want to bring to the channel.
Yeah.
Any initial things you want to add right now? Don't feel like you have to.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I just feel like I was kind of monologuing, so I wanted to just give you an opportunity to jump in if you wanted to. I think this video is one I've wanted to make for like a while. I know I was kind of saying that earlier, so I apologize if this feels redundant. But it's interesting how organically this conversation has kind of come up. And I think in my mind, I was like waiting to have this conversation until it made sense. And all of a sudden it just kind of makes sense with like what we're looking at right now. So I want to kind of have a little bit of a conversation about my decision to work with a PR company with Sad Girl SZN, and just have a little bit of a conversation about financially what the impact of that move was, but also the contrast in like what we've been able to do or what I've been able to do myself.
Yeah, just with minimum resources, just like putting it out there a little bit, seeing what sticks type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like maybe I'm being a little elusive in the way that I'm talking about this, but only because it's like an important conversation and it was a valuable experience, but it was a very expensive learning lesson. And so I guess like I bring this conversation to this platform so that we can like have an honest conversation about that lesson that I took away, in the hopes that maybe someone else watching this could like take some value
and make smarter decisions,
right?
More informed decisions, maybe.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And that's
because the music world is a fickle place. I mean,
like,
the music they're not
industry,
trying to help you out.
It can be kind of predatory, like especially for younger and like independent artists, people who just don't have experience working within the industry. Like, especially, I think we live in an interesting time where perhaps there's been more independent artists than ever before because of the accessibility to both equipment, your ability to record, and also to share and distribute because of streaming and platforms. DistroKid. Yeah, exactly. It's been a long arc, certainly, but like especially under the lens of 2024, I think it's just like a really interesting conversation to have. There's, I don't know, just a lot of room for people to maybe get taken advantage of.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, it's not to even say that any of these companies truly have malicious intent outside of the fact that there are important parts of the conversation that maybe get left out if you are coming into it without the background to know that those are the questions you should be asking.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that there's been versions of this that have happened. You think about like bad record deals and the countless number of artists that have shared their experience feeling like they signed a bad deal and got put into a bad position. So again, there's different ways that this has translated throughout time, but I think this is just like me talking specifically about the experience of being an independent artist.
And I think it is very
in today's
similar
context
to the record deal situation. It's just that because it's all about being independent, they don't really have to show anything. I don't know. I mean, they can drop name drops and they can say that they have all of these streams, but at the end of the day, they don't have to invest in you at all. You're the one fronting the money. So it's the same kind of like philosophy of like getting taken advantage by the music industry, just in a
smaller,
more independent way.
Niche.
Yeah, exactly.
Experience.
Exactly. It's not a record deal. It's you trying to promote your own music and they're just stealing your money and fucking you over type shit.
Yeah, exactly. And so again, it's just hard because when you're going into it, or at least again, what I can do is speak from my experience. When I was going into these conversations the first time around, and I worked with a company out of the UK called Liberty PR. I'm going to name drop them only because this is just the reality of the experience that I had. And again, like there's plenty of really good reviews for the company. That's part of the reason why I made the decision to work with them in the first place is like from what I could tell based on the research I'd done, most people were having a good experience. And so again, it's just like there's no real way for you to know if a company approaches you and you feel like they have a good vibe and you like the conversations that you're having. And for me, like a lot of the conversation was about organic growth, talking about like not dumping your money into scams.
And you're talking about the interviews that you or the conversations you've had recently, or when you were talking to Liberty?
No, when I was talking to Liberty.
Okay.
In that moment, like what I was on high alert for was basically I want to invest in playlisting. I want to invest in marketing as an independent musician without the threat of my songs getting botted out, which is still a conversation that I'm having with all of these companies today. In those conversations, a lot of the narrative and a lot of the rhetoric was about organic growth, growing community, real numbers. This was a lot of the conversation, and that was really appealing to me. Unfortunately, what was missing from a lot of that conversation, which hindsight is 2020, is like an actual idea of what the product was that I was purchasing and what the return would actually be on an investment. And for me, the money that I put into that project and working with that PR company was everything that I had at the time. Trying to push
your career along.
Yeah, exactly. And I was in a spot where I had been on the heels of working with some people in the industry that ultimately like those opportunities just like didn't really come to fruition. And I had done some minimal marketing on songs that were singles from the project, and I was really proud of this body of work and had been holding on to it for a really long time. And so I wanted to release this new project with some level of momentum and intentionality behind it that I knew just posting on my own socials was just not going to be possible to create. And that it's very interesting. That's part of the conversation we had with the call that we were on today is social media is a tool. Posting on socials is an important part of being a musician. But for me personally, I just really haven't seen the success posting to socials like that. I said to this man we were talking, I've never had a viral moment. I've never even had like semblance of my work hitting the algorithm in a way with any serious level of push. So
well, and we're all told a very specific way on how we're supposed to do the social media of it all. And again, it's either following trends or posting schedules or whatnot, whatever you're only supposed to post videos or whatever they're saying.
But that's the thing too, everything evolves so quickly that again, like for you to even have good information is difficult, and everyone is going to be telling
constantly,
you they know, and they know what the thing is. And again, what I will concede to is I guess I could be posting more. I could be trying to create a video every second of every
should happen.
Yes, exactly.
That's the idea.
But what I can tell you is what feels sustainable to me is making and sharing work that I genuinely feel proud of and feel good about. And so
and feel good about when you're making it. Again, like us sitting down making this episode right now is because in this moment we felt like this was a good conversation to have.
Right.
And you can't just produce that all the time, day in and day out.
I'm concerned with value.
Yeah.
I'm very much always trying to think about the value of the product that I'm bringing. And that's part of the reason why I made the decision to cut back on the amount that I was posting, because when I first started on YouTube, I literally was posting twice a week. And then I hit a point with that where I was like, oh, like it was great to get out of the gate that way, because I did have a lot of ideas and a lot of stuff I wanted to try out and a lot of things I wanted to kind of get out there at the initial start. But then when it came to a point of like, okay, now we need to consider this medium in a form of longevity and
where we want to go with it,
precisely, and intentionality as well, then you kind of have to start to ask yourself, what matters to me?
Sure.
And for me, I'm going to be honest in following that. There's no question about it. I've just got to follow what feels genuine and what feels real. And so I'm going to continue to post on social media as I do. I do post on social media. There's no doubt about it. And I have seen some varied levels of growth and success here or there. But realistically, what I've been doing thus far hasn't really been moving the needle in any sort of like huge substantial way. So again, when you're thinking about releasing music, I feel like there's this narrative that it's like you have to use social media as the vehicle to launch your career, when in reality, I think there's like a larger conversation to be had about that's not necessarily true. It's just what you're seeing the most common these days.
Yes, exactly.
And that also pushes a larger question too of like, okay, so for me personally, if I'm not going to position myself behind the putting more of my chips on finding a level of virality on the internet, how am I going to be using my resources and my time to try to continue to find success and continue to potentially connect with the people I'm looking to connect with? And so that's when you start to bring in some of these marketing companies into the conversation, because it's like, okay, like we take the conversation back a step. With Honey, it started with me preliminarily doing some sort of submission on Submit Hub. And again, the person we spoke to today was very anti-Submit Hub and was very like weary and skeptical of that. And to be fair, it is a little bit scammy because there is like huge limitations
to what you can do. I mean, just playlist wise. I mean, you've done a couple of rounds and past this point, it's just like, what other playlist can I even try and push this song on?
There will be some level of yield, but like even the most lucrative playlist you're only going to be on for so long and is only going to have so much push, and there's a limit,
quality of listeners,
and there's a limitation to what you can receive in terms of a quality listener off of the people that exist on that platform today. Now, what I will say is being able to invest a little bit of money into Submit Hub to just do some testing seeing what the response is like with Honey, and seeing how we did, and seeing the positive response that we got in that market, which is a notoriously difficult nut to crack in terms of low acceptance rates, very finicky, not actually necessarily
monthly listeners and streams. It's all very wishy-washy when it comes to that.
And again, they'll reject you more times than not. Like
but that's what you can say about Honey is you came out with a
good percentage.
A good percentage.
Like a way higher number of playlists that we ended up having success with, which ultimately translated in a much larger rate of growth overall for Honey than we've seen for pretty much any other song. Which to me indicates this conversation of like, okay,
what's the next step?
Right. This track has value. Something about this track has a level of stickiness to it that even in this weird little wonky market that is Submit Hub, we could see some people gravitating towards it and understanding it and seeing its value. And I see its value. I know its value. And so then again, what are you going to do to push? And what I will say is I didn't go out of my way to go looking for these companies. I had a company approach me organically who found my stuff because of the playlist and because of the push that song was seeing with the small amount of success that we had off the playlist that we just did with Submit Hub, and had one conversation there and was very candid about what my experience was with Liberty PR, which I don't even think I really went there. And again, it's not even about bashing a company, because that's really not what it's about. I'm just trying to share like from a true learning perspective. When I was in that experience, I just didn't really ever feel like I knew what I was receiving in terms of like a product. And I ended up, again, spending a lot of money especially comparatively to what we just spent and the success
results
that we
got
saw
from it. Yeah.
with the Submit Hub stuff, as well as conversations that we're having with other ad companies right now that are offering much more specific services and specific outcomes.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that they're guaranteeing anything, because that's also something to be wary of. And again, like, we're being intentional about the conversation of keeping things organic, keeping my page genuine. Like, I want real listeners. That's what I'm looking for. I want real people to hear my music. Well, that is the goal.
And again, when it comes to sharing your experience of working with independent PR companies, is not just taking the first option, asking the hard questions, being skeptical of the stuff that even does sound good, and not just putting your stock all in one thing. Again, talk to different people, see different perspectives, see what they think doesn't work and what does work, and compare them against each other. And then you can make a more smart and informed decision of if you even want to go with a PR company or if you want to try in a different route. And I think that's really the main important thing.
And it's okay to take your time too.
Definitely.
I think that, and that's true of so much when it comes to being an independent musician. Like, see, and this is like such an interesting conversation. Like this is a really big one that we talk about a lot. If you go crazy, you will burn out.
Yeah.
And you just literally don't have to rush anything. And I say that as a sad motherfucker who has been working on this music shit for 6 years now. Sad Girl, no. Not Sad Girl SZN.
Yeah.
Internet Girl number one.
Yeah.
Internet Girl number one turns 6 probably when this video comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Your
Also,
first real
stream
project.
Internet Girl number one.
Seriously.
It's on my
heat.
Liza Jane page, so it's
Look
kind
it
of like obscure. But if you check out on Spotify, I
Drive
literally
by.
have a playlist that has my entire discography of my old stuff and my new stuff all in one place for you to check out. I'm still really proud of all my music that I put out under Liza Jane, and there's a lot of really interesting gems, and just it's so fascinating. So shout out Internet Girl number one. She started it all.
Drive By is my favorite.
Yeah.
Check out Drive By.
It's just a much more experimental, free, fun version of Bisca. Like it's the first stuff I ever was making, and I love it. And it's just like, again, that's a side comment. Stream honey.
Stream honey.
Please stream honey. My point being, I've been doing this a long time. And it's easy to feel impatient, to just be like, when is it going to come together? When is it going to make sense? But the truth is, it needs to make sense for it to come together. Yeah. You trying to force some shit, you trying to rush, you trying to generate chaos so you feel like something is happening around you is really counterproductive. Yep. And
is making you put energy into things that aren't worth putting your energy into.
Exactly. So like for me, when I was releasing that project, I was so concerned with not flopping. Starting over, I was building a new community. I was kind of on my own, doing a lot of self-work, figuring out what was coming next. And I'm talking about Sad Girl SZN now, so I'm jumping all over. So I apologize if I'm being confusing. But when I made the decision to work with that company, I was really worried about making sure that that release had a level of success to it, that release I could like compare to the last project that I released in Internet Girl number one, and not feel like I was like going backwards or like losing momentum. I think I was really concerned with that, especially on the heels of coming out of a industry program that was like dumping resources with a lacking of longevity. Like there was a lot of numbers that were being
more
added
resources
to my page
than you've
on
ever
YouTube.
had.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
and then
having the money put in like
and then it
weird,
went away
random
though.
places.
It went away too.
Exactly.
That's the other thing. It was never really, and now we're just talking about Backline. So let's just fucking name drop and it's not. Yeah. It's again. This isn't the Backline video. That's a different video we'll have one day. But when I was in Backline, and y'all can look it up if you're curious. Y'all can go do the research. I ain't gonna get into the whole lore of it. But when I was in Backline, I was so convinced that was gonna be the moment, and.
I thought so too.
It was just like it had to be.
Yeah, it seemed
and I
like
had the perspective already. I was like, I'm gonna be so undeniable that it can't not happen. And I got humbled so badly. Like, it wasn't even close.
It's a matter of circumstance.
Yeah, and it's not my fault. Literally, it is not my fault. It was a learning lesson. I spent a lot of time being
every hardship you faced has just been a learning lesson and has made you better.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I've spent a lot of time being really hurt and upset about things that didn't work out. And at the end of the day, it's okay to feel how you feel about things, and it's okay to be disappointed. And I literally do not blame myself at all for being upset about those things not panning out the way I thought they would, because it's so normal and okay to be disappointed when you don't think the opportunity that you thought it was is going to be what it is, or that I don't know if that's a real sentence, but I think you're following me what I'm saying. It's okay to really learn from that and then keep moving. And again, that's the thing. I had that experience. I didn't want to flop. I felt like I had just flopped from what I thought was going to be the thing that was going to take me there.
Sure.
And I had this body of work that I made through that period that I was really proud of, that I was like, this is still really good and this is still really valid, after being told so many times that I wasn't valid.
Yeah.
And after being like disregarded and written off and cast to the side and not given support and told, like, all of those things that stack on top of each other. And then I was just sat with this body of work like a baby in a basket. Like, I don't know what to do with this
Left
thing.
out in the cold.
But like, it has so much potential.
No, seriously.
And so again, I think I rushed into the decision to work with that company to create the illusion that I had more support and momentum than I really did at the time. And it's okay. Like, and again,
and it seemed right at the time. I remember you
I
bringing up
really
the PR company
was
to me.
thinking about it carefully, and like, it was not a decision I made lightly. I really hemmed and hawed over making that decision. It was all the money I had, so I made the choice to drop that money on that company, knowing it was a gamble and knowing that it might not work out. And so when it didn't work out, it was just like, what are you gonna do? I've got some credit card debt now, so I got to get back to work. Like, it wasn't a scenario where I even really had time to beat myself up over it the same way as other disappointments had come in the past.
Sure.
But again, that experience creates a specific feeling of like, okay, I can't trust these marketing companies, because it did feel like it was predatory, and it did feel like I was taken advantage of, and it did feel like I was sold services that weren't really yielding of anything, and were like promising, like actually, I'm sorry, let me be specific. We're careful not to promise anything, but like created a feeling that there was any level of like actual support and care and momentum for what I was working on, and then the reality of like what the product was and what it actually ended up being.
Well, and what
was just
tangible
like
growth did you see from that
minor
program?
I think, and this is what I'll say, and so this is very interesting, just from like a number standpoint. The most I saw was my monthly listeners tipped over 1,000 at one point, from some of the playlisting that was happening with the track that they were focusing on called Other People, which I do love that track. Check out the music video. It's on this channel.
Sometimes I want to scream at you. Usually just the words came out wrong.
Check
you
it out.
can listen
really
to the
cool.
Other People track, but also we shot this really cool music video in Wisconsin. It's fall themed, so we're right on time. And it's total fall vibes. It's total like cuffing season vibes. And go stream Other People, y'all. Like, that's the thing too. I'm still really proud of all the music that I have out across my pages and platforms. So check that shit out.
Again, it's like, so you just tipped over 1,000 monthly listeners with this program that you put a ton of your finances into it, and alone by ourselves only having put a couple $100s into this playlisting
versus thousands of dollars
thousands and thousands of dollars is we surpassed 3,000 monthly listeners, and Honey currently has more streams than any track on Sad Girl SZN, and it's just like, how
it has more
Tell me
streams.
how it works.
It has more streams than some of my most popular tracks combined. And that's from leftover I was working with the backline people into I was working with the Liberty PR people. And Honey's doing better than that.
Exactly.
Combined. That doesn't make any sense. Like that. But again, that's the thing. It's all learning.
It's all learning.
And I didn't know better.
We could never have known that unless you did it. And that's why we did feel like we were being careful, and you were being careful. you just didn't know.
Which is part of the reason why I really wanted to have this conversation today. Again, this isn't to like slander anyone. This isn't to like boo-hoo about my past. This is really meant to be a constructive conversation about the realities of these lessons that I've been learning, that I now take that information and these experiences that I've been sharing with y'all into conversations with companies I'm talking to today.
Yeah.
And like I said, in the present, when we're talking about honey, when we're talking about how we want to push that momentum with honey, I was approached by this company. I was very candid with them about what my experience was with Liberty PR and a lot of my hesitancies about working with a company like them that feels similar to that company that didn't provide what I was looking for. That was a good, candid conversation that brought a level of honesty, and they could still be screwing me over. That's the thing. I don't know. It could literally every single and all of it could be a scam. You at a certain point you have to assume a level of risk.
Well, and exactly, there is a part of just betting on yourself and gambling on yourself.
Yeah.
And again, we've had advice from people who are like, you shouldn't do the PR route, the indie PR route. But again, at some point, it's like, what other path, what other avenue do I have to promote myself in a real and genuine way that isn't going to take me a year of doing whatever? And because again, you've already been at it for 6 years. So it's like, I've worked at it. This song seems ready. I need to take the next step. What is my next step? And PR really seems to be the way to do it. Again, there's not many people walking around giving handouts, looking for independent artists on the up and coming.
In the age of virality, it's just not necessary. It's just like there's other avenues in which they're doing that. And again, for me, and this is a part of where this conversation really does come full circle, is it's like if you're going to make a decision about, okay, I'm going to put less of my chips and hopes in the hands of the algorithm on social media, what is the trade-off? And again, like, I think there's a lot that's gone into us feeling ready to talk to marketing companies again and to consider genuine avenues on how to grow the brand and grow the music. And again, I'm investing money on the front end too.
Exactly.
I've been doing this for 6 years
and
by way of I've got 6 years of experience in terms
of
who I want to work with, what I want my sound to be, who I have touching my stuff, and the quality of the final product. There's part of a reason, and this is something we were talking about like last night or 2 nights prior maybe, like part of the reason why I haven't found success yet, and I really do believe this, is because I wasn't ready. And the music just wasn't quite
right
ready,
time.
And the things weren't aligned and things weren't good. So that's another thing too. Before you make a decision to work with a PR company, ask yourself why you're doing it. Like, does it really make sense? Do you really feel like the investment is going to take you somewhere because your product is there and like you've got some good indicator that this is going to be a good investment? Again, for us, what part of what makes me feel really secure about our decision to try to invest in honey on a marketing level is because we did minor amounts of investing in a different market that I could play with smaller amounts of money to just see how it did. And
it's been doing very, very well so
exactly.
far.
Again, so whatever your version of security looks like is valid, but just check in with yourself and make sure that like you're investing the money because you really believe investing the money is going to do good things for your brand and your track, rather than feeling panicked that you're not seeing the traction you want yet. Because we've all had those moments. I feel like such an imposter so often because there is a pressure on yourself to want to be successful and want to do well and want to make it and see the growth. And there are a lot of weird pressure factors of like comparison with people on the internet, rhetorics about just needing to become viral, or rhetorics about needing to be young to be successful, or whatever it may be. It's okay to be where you're at in your journey and to take time to learn and better your craft and have good learning lessons. What I turned on the camera to have this conversation in regards to really was, how can I share my experience to better prepare someone else and just be candid about the experiences that I've had, so you can walk into those rooms feeling a little more comfortable. You can go into those calls ready to ask the hard questions, be candid about your experience, be honest about your level of comfort in those calls. It's not weak to be honest. Because if they can't give you good reassuring answers for your questions and your concerns, your time or money. That's going to be a great indicator whether or not that's something that is going to be a safe move to go forward with.
You are giving them your money. They need to earn it. They need to make you feel comfortable. They do need to reassure you. And if they can't do that, then it's probably not a right fit.
Yeah.
Well, and just the difference between the conversations that we've had with these PR companies now in comparison to what you think the conversations you were having before, because they're still saying the same like fluff BS, and you can just kind of cut through that and ask really direct questions. And they're a little bit stunned by it. But again, if they can't answer that question for you right there in that right moment, it's probably not a good investment. So,
and it's okay to walk away. There's been so many random people who have reached out to me over the years where I've gotten a little excited and a little giddy and been like, oh my gosh, this could be the moment. This could be the thing that like moves the needle where like actually things really start to take off. It's okay to feel excited. It's okay to get your hopes up. But then it's also really okay to take a minute, take your time, look at the situation and like ask yourself the real questions, ask them the real questions, and then make ultimately a decision that's informed and that's going to be best for you. Because again, it's good and it's healthy to make learning lessons and make mistakes and learn lessons from those mistakes. But if you can avoid it too, that's just going to be like one less hardship that you have to overcome in the path of what is inevitably going to be a journey when you're trying to pursue your art as a craft and as a profession. So yeah, I think that's a lot of what I wanted to talk about today. I think that's like a pretty good conversation. Let me know what you guys think. Literally nothing but love to everyone. I just really wanted to hop on here and just be a little candid and be a little genuine with you guys about some of my experiences. Like I said, this conversation specifically is one that I've kind of had in my back pocket that I knew was something I wanted to be honest with y'all on the channel about eventually. But just in light of like a lot of these meetings and conversations we've been having with our current releases that we're looking at, and then kind of with that doing a lot of reflection about kind of just the different experiences and opportunities I've had through the years with previous releases, I felt like a really good organic time to kind of hop on and share a little bit of that with y'all in a way that hopefully will just be informative, interesting, maybe if you're not a musician, and helpful if you are. We have a lot of conversations about different things on this channel, but in some sense, I do want this to be a resource. So thank you guys for coming and sharing the space with us. I'm really glad that we were able to have this conversation.
Me too.
And I think we'll probably leave it there. My name is Bisca.
My name is Cole.
And we will see you again very soon.
You got your own style, disposition, and taste. Kinda person, struggle to keep away. I know I tend to show it all in my face. Don't think that you got the keys, I just fall in love easy.